is Morgan, and I recently had my heart broken. So I did what any logical person would do.
What did you do?
I made a podcast about it.
Why?
Because no matter who you are or where you're from, when you get dumped, everybody's talking about it.
Are they, bitch?
Famously Dumped. Hello, welcome back to another episode of Famously Dumped. I'm your host, Morgan Miller, and I'm excited that we're back in action, you guys. As always, we're going to check in with me and my emotions and how I'm feeling. And today, you guys, I am feeling bananas, okay? And that is a nice way to say that I am feeling psychotic. So I'm going to leave it at that. I feel bananas. There's a lot happening. I feel like my emotions are being slingshotted. And so I'm trying to just be zen. I'm trying to meditate more, the whole thing. But I am feeling pretty bananas today. But also, as always, I'm super grateful and very... I can't even say how excited I am about this episode. We have one of my best friends from New York City that I met years ago. I've known her forever. She's a storyteller in New York City. She's so funny. She's had some live shows that are super fun, all about breaking up, relationships, the whole deal. She's pretty much an expert. So I'm very excited to have her. Her name's Ann Filbin. And Brandon, will you bring her in? Hello.
Hi, Morgan. How are you?
I'm good. How are you, Carly?
Honestly doing awesome.
Well, I'm super excited you're here. Thank you for doing the show. So we're going to talk a little bit about a story where you got dumped because, I got dumped and it was awful. So we're going to figure out what happened to you and all that kind of stuff. So before we get started, we do not use the name of our exes on the show because we like the anonymity. This isn't an ex bash. We don't want to talk shit about our exes here. So we're going to get you an alias for your ex and we're going to pick one. So Brandon, bring up the slide. These are the top 10 baby names of 2019. So we're going to have you pick a alias for your ex-boyfriend or girlfriend.
This is so exciting. I didn't know that this is
This is ex-boyfriend, right, Carly?
Yeah. Let's say I think Flynn would be appropriate.
Flynn?
Yes.
Flynn is perfect. I'm obsessed.
Flynn is one of the top 10 baby names for 2019. Flynn.
I know the list is crazy, but I did,
Wow. Okay, Flynn. My boy Flynn.
Flynn it is. Great. Brandon, thank you so much. All right, we'll be talking about Flynn. And then before we jump into the meat of the story, we do a little segment that is called Dump Stats.
Oh my God.
Dump stats. These are the dump stats.
I'm trying to get into that tune, but I couldn't.
It's a song that I recorded with my voice. I understand it's it's not my best work.
It's not.
So this is your baseball card, Carly. And how do you look great, honestly. Wow.
Thank you.
Shout
out to Photo Juice who took the photo. Yes,
shout out. So this is your this section called Dump Stats, where we get some stats about you and your life in relationship wise. So then we can move forward with that. So these are the dump stats. We're gonna knock these out. First of all, how many times have you been dumped?
Oh my God. Every time except for one. So 12? I don't know.
12?
Between 10 and 20.
Record.
Between 10 and 20.
Between 10 and 20?
Yeah.
That's a record, and I love that. You're an expert.
Yeah. Can I just preface? Can I say something?
Yeah.
I've had one real boyfriend, and I've been single for a long time. So when I date, they're 3 months, 4 month type of thing. Sometimes they're 2 years, but yeah, so I can really cycle through them,
Yeah. Yes. Rotating door. Cool. So you've been dumped between 10 and 12 times, 10 and 20 times. Have you ever dumped someone?
There was one guy, let's call him Simon. We were on and off for 2 years, and one time I dumped him because I definitely didn't want to date him anymore. He dumped me, and then I feel like we ended because I had no choice but to dump him, but I feel like he dumped me with his actions and less of his words. So I'm going to say I dumped one person one time, but that same person in the long run dumped me. Okay.
Got it. So like one time, sorta.
One time, sorta, yeah.
One time, sorta. Okay, perfect. Next, for this, what we're talking about with Flynn, how long ago did it happen?
It happened the last week of May.
Last week of May. So this year.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay, great. Last week in May. And then how old were you when this happened? Your age now.
I was 34 because the next week was my birthday.
Wow. Okay.
Happy birthday, Carly.
happy birthday, Carly. And fuck you, Flynn. Seriously. Wow. Okay. So you were 34. It happened last May. And how long were you and Flynn together?
We were together, which is I don't know if I would use that word, but 6 weeks.
6 weeks. Okay, great. 6 weeks. This is already different and fun, and I'm obsessed. So this is great.
It's the most recent one, so I felt like it would be the most potent.
I love it. So so how are you feeling emotionally about the breakup right now?
Right now, my feelings aren't hurt, and I don't wish he was still in my life, but I feel I have a ton of anger towards him. I am infuriated towards him.
Wow. Okay. All right. Rightfully so. I relate hard. Yeah. That long ago, if I had just gotten out of my relationship, I was livid. Absolutely livid. So hard relate. Great. And then our last stat is when this happened, did you go full psycho?
Yes. And that's why, I went. I've never, and I'm a psycho, but he dumped me in a way I've never been dumped before. And that is, I felt like I was on Mars. I was like, you're fucking crazy. And I went 100p full psycho, whatever is like over full, like, cup runneth over psycho. Yeah.
Great. Great. Perfect. I as well went full psycho. So this is great. I'm excited for us to really dive into this. Great. So those are your dump stats. We're going to go over them really quick before we move on. So great. You have been dumped between 10 to 20 times. You dumped someone one time, sorta. This particular dump with Flynn happened last May.
This May.
This May, so that's May, June, July. So that's 2 months ago?
Yeah.
2 months ago. Okay, so 2 months ago, you were 34, right before your birthday. God bless.
Which is June 7th, yes.
God bless. And then you guys were together 6 weeks. You were emotionally feeling fucking infuriated, which is to be expected. And then you 100% cup runneth over, went full psycho.
Yeah.
Great. All right. Those are your dump stats. Now we get into it. So how did you, in just a little bit, not like a huge whole story, how did you guys meet and how was the 6-week relationship and how did it go?
Okay, Morgan, we met, and I don't want you to think that I'm this type of person. I adamantly am not. We met playing online trivia. Okay. I have never played trivia in my life. I don't know a thing. I don't know one thing. So I don't like trivia. I don't like people who like trivia, but we're in quarantine and I'm like, it's important to know that I live by myself and, the option, and I live in New York City, the option to leave New York was none. So I had a hard time for a month in quarantine. My friends like, come play. We're like, I'm quarantined in this house in Michigan with these boys. We're going to put on trivia. Why don't you just get a team and play? And so he didn't see me, but I saw him give, what am I trying to say? They write the questions and they ask the trivia questions. They host trivia. And so then afterwards I texted my friend who I knew was quarantined with them. And I was like, what's this guy's deal? And so then he texted me that night. How am I going into our relationship now?
No, yeah.
Okay, so then Flynn texted me that night, and then for 6 weeks, which I understand wasn't like a serious relationship, but I also can't stress enough that how lonely and alone I was in quarantine. And he became, and when there's nothing to do, he became like 1/3 of my daily routine. Okay, so we talked almost every day. He's younger than me. He's 10 years younger than me, but like really, I don't know, doesn't have an Instagram, which I found really sexy, and just was able to like really articulate his feelings. And every single time I spoke to him, we're like, this is so crazy, right? We're like FaceTiming, we've never met. He does live in New York, but he's out of state at this right now. And we were really having emotionally intelligent conversations about what this is and how we could make this work for now. And every time we spoke, he was like, what do you want? How can like we make this better for you? Just like, because it really, I was like Googling things like how to date in quarantine, and they're like, just go on a FaceTime date, but they don't actually tell you like what happens like after you've known him for a week, and like, oh, you're developing feelings for this person that you've never met, and you feel crazy. There's a lack of like oxytocin and pheromones. So we were really trying to like figure out how we can do things in place of that. And also like, because all you have is conversation, and all you have is like conversation about your feelings, because your life is whack. You don't have a B story. You can't talk about like the crazy woman at the restaurant who threw a fit. You're just talking about your feelings and yourself. You have these we had these like deep, intense conversations in this time of tragedy and fear. Yeah. And that's him. And every time I was like, hey, I feel like I'm being needy, I want you to text me. And he's like, I don't think you're needy. He's like, I think if you want me to text you, you need to tell me. He's like, how often do you want me to text you? And I was like, I don't know, like every other day. And he's like, done. Everything like I expressed, he was very, he asked me to communicate more. He was really open to communication.
This seems like a guy that's very good for you. If he can, I think someone asking you how many times you need them to text you, that's a Carly-Ann like need.
Yeah. And like we were to like kind of catch each other up on who we are. I'm like sending him a lot of like my like comedy videos and things like that. And he seemed really on board. Every time I date someone, immediately one of my friends goes, okay, but does he get your sense of humor? And without fail. And I'm like, okay, my sense of humor isn't so insane, but he did. Like he got my sense of humor. He just was like, he's a computer programmer, which I thought was really hot. He lives on the Lower East Side, which I really liked. Anyway, that's
so yeah, a lot of really good qualities. And also I think that dating, and I think you're right, it's so intense in quarantine because we're so lonely and stuff. So a 6-week relationship quarantine wise outside, it's probably like, if we're talking dog years type stuff, like a quarantine 6-week relationship is probably around 2 years.
Oh, 100 P.
100. Yes. So because it's super intense.
Like I took a year.
Yeah.
Like, even at the beginning of quarantine, I was still checking my ex's and his new girlfriend's page. And but I think I just want to say I think our situations were so different. Like they all were a breakup, but like you were in love with somebody. I had to grapple with the emotions of like, why was I ready to settle? Why don't I think I can get what I want? And like honestly, I was like, I will never, like, if I never get what I want, is that what my life's gonna be? Like a pity party for me because I'll never get what I want? Like, what if you never get what you want? Oh, fucking well. Like this, you have one goddamn life. You have one life. And so it wasn't really like, I want to be happy. I was like, I don't want to be this person. And how can I just put myself in new situations to get me as far away from this person as possible? So yeah, so when it comes to him, I did a lot of work before that, and it really paid off with this. And I think like in quarantine, I definitely have like days, weeks that I just like, they're gone. They were too sad. I don't ever want to remember them. But I also am doing pretty good, like with this is the reality we have now. God, this meditation retreat, I think really did more for me than I'm willing to admit. But like, the point of the retreat was like, this will also change. Nothing is permanent. You will, like, I could be in love again, and that love, how it is at that moment of time, won't be that way in like months or years. Even if we're still in love, it'll be a different type of love. It's not just like nothing lasts forever, including sadness. So including this moment, this pause.
Yeah.
I don't know. Am I making sense? I mean, I live by myself. So I get really existential late at night.
I love that. I do too. I may not live by myself, but I get existential a lot. I think that makes total sense. So I know we've hit a lot of things that you've done. Is there one thing with like such an intense 6-week relationship in quarantine, which we are calling 2 years, that you would give like an overall advice to someone who was kind of like gaslit and hit by a bus, like how to deal with that? Like, what's the overall thing that you're like this? Because it sounds like maybe it was a 10-day silent meditation retreat.
Whoa, hold on one second. Hi, before we get to the overall advice, my name's Morgan Miller. You've just been watching me this whole time. I'm the host of Famously Dumped, and I've got a couple of things I got to tell you before we finish up the episode. One, we have an email account, famouslydumped@gmail.com, where you can email me. Maybe you have comments, questions for our guests, questions for me. Maybe you have advice for our listeners, or maybe you have a story about getting dumped that you want to tell me about. So please email me there. I'd love to hear from you, and we'll put it on the podcast. 2, you can donate to the show, which is great. How can you donate? At our Venmo, which is famously_dumped, or you can go on over to my Patreon account, which is patreon.com/MorganMiller1717. Over on my Patreon will live bonus episodes, uncut episodes, and other comedy material that I'm coming out with that will strictly be on Patreon, okay? So head on over there. And finally, don't forget to follow me on social media. Yes, I'm doing a social media plug. Come on, it's 2021. Let's get to it. My social media is Morgan Miller 17 across the board. And also, I'm on TikTok. Yes, I'm in my 30s. I have TikTok. I kind of blew up over there. So go check me out. That's Morgan Miller Talks, TOKS. And that's about it. You guys, let's get back to the episode. Enough for me. Bring us on back.
Oh, God. That's such a good question. My advice.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I don't know if this is bullshit, but my advice for everything truly is to journal. Like, I know that sounds like bullshit, but like to just write out your feelings just to get them out there. And then for the next time this happens, you can read them and know how far you've come. But that's not immediate. And I understand. I think advice being gaslit is just, I think figure out a way that you can inherently know that you're never gonna right or wrong. Like, let that go. Let the idea of, does that make sense? Like somebody's wrong perception of you. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
How do I say this correctly? Like, I don't know, Morgan, I feel at a loss for words.
No, I think first of all, you're making tons of sense. So no problem there. But I think I think the recognition of being gaslit and not that in general is hard, but like realizing that like you're not the catalyst and the problem, right?
Yeah.
You're not, there is no wrong and right in this relationship. I mean, actually, he seems like he did some fucking shit really wrong, but you're not the problem, right? You're not, and that's what I had to do a lot of in like inside reflection of like, I wasn't the problem. I wasn't the reason this happened. I didn't do the wrong things. I didn't ask for too much because I asked in my relationship, I was starting to ask, like, can we move in together? Will you spend holidays with my family? And so, like, when we broke up, I was like, I pushed too hard. I fucking pushed too hard. And it's like, it's taken me months to be like, no, that's not right. What happened was she really needed to work on herself, period.
Yeah, I think you bring up a good point. Like, because you have needs doesn't make you needy, or you know what I mean? Because you want something doesn't mean you're lacking in another area.
Yeah.
It doesn't mean anything. For you to want what you want when you want it is valid. You know what I mean? So I think that's a good point that you make. I also want to say, just like to throw in there, this might be actually disgusting and sickening, but like the way he treated me, like how easy it was for him to just like cut me off, and have this, I guess, my like abundance mindset. Like, I'm Carly Ann Filbin, you think you're getting another woman that's comparable to me? Okay, good try. But that really made, I could see that, me looking at that, like at that as something I need to adapt. And I have seen that, like, since we've ended, like I have cut things off. I've shut people up just because I don't want to be a pushover. Like I've like adapted a little bit of his like straight white man action, personality. What do you want me, like, what is that? Ego, I guess. I've like adapted that.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, I think that's what happened to me too. Like, it was a cutoff immediately, and that's it. Like, we haven't spoken, we have nothing. And it's like, okay, well, I guess you could super compartmentalize me as this like thing, and you were totally enmeshed in my life. So I'm trying to do the same. Not exactly, I don't want to say compartmentalize, but like be me, and then have aspects of my life where, because I think what happened to me in my relationship was it was so all consuming for me. And I would have told you in the relationship that it wasn't, but it was. And so then when we broke up, I fucking lost it. So, but I think that's what you're saying, is you're like adopting that kind of mentality of like, okay, I'm gonna like be able to do this ego thing where it's like, I'm not gonna get treated like this. Also, you are Carly Ann Filbin, and he's a fucking idiot. Let's say that for goddamn sure. Thank you for all the advice. It does make a lot of sense.
Can I ask you one question?
I would love that.
So when you say in your last relationship, and you would have denied it then, but it was like all encompassing, it was like wrapped up in your world, do you think that was a bad thing? And in your next relationship, are you trying to change that? Or are you like, you know what? No, this is how I am in relationships, and I need someone who's going to meet me there.
I'm gonna change that, because I think, like, also through doing this, and I've heard so much advice from so many people, is like the most important thing. And like, this is what I heard from Alice too, was like, I had to come to terms, and I have come to terms right now with the fact that like, I'm gonna be okay if I'm alone. Like, I'm gonna be okay if I have to adopt alone. Like, I'm gonna be okay. And like, that person shouldn't. Someone told me this, I think this was in this, but it's like, I think my trauma therapist said this. She said, you shouldn't both be half a person, because 1/2 times 1/2 when together is 1/4. So then you become like 1/4 of a person instead of a whole. So you should be 2 whole people and then come together, because I think that enmeshment is so codependent, and we really were that codependent, and I didn't realize it, that it's like, I have to stand on my own 2 feet. This has to be a bonus. Like, a girlfriend or wife, that's a bonus, and that's a wonderful, wonderful thing. And I care about them, and I have unconditional love for them, but it can't, that enmeshment for me personally is like, so not how I want to live my next relationship. And so I've worked a lot in the past 8 months on me personally. How can I be okay standing on my 2 feet? That's going to make me the best partner to be with. Because I also think I really was trying to fix her. And I was trying to, and that is so unhealthy. The more, because I was one of those things where I was like squeezing onto it so tight. And then that's what made it like, it's too hard. It's too hard. So yeah. So I think what I learned from this relationship is, that enmeshment is not, for me, good. It's bad.
Yeah.
It's really bad. So
have you heard of the book Attached?
Yes, I have. I haven't read it, but yeah.
Oh my God. It'll help you so much. You're like, oh, I'm not crazy. This is like language for how I am. It's really good.
It's great. Okay, great. Awesome. Amazing. Okay, cool. Well, we are going to do a couple ending segments, and then we're going to get you out of here. Thank you for your story and your advice. So this we have 2 ending segments. Brandon, our first one is... And now, time for horoscopes. Okay, so this is called horoscopes. So this is where we figure out if you guys were doomed from the start based on your horoscopes.
Yeah.
So you're June, so you're Gemini.
Yes.
Yes, of course you're a Gemini. Carly Ann Filbin, a Gemini. Do you know what your moon is?
I have it written down, but not offhand.
Okay, all right. So you're a Gemini, and what was Flynn?
Oh shit, Flynn! I forgot his fake name. He is, I believe, an Aquarius, February.
Aquarius. Okay, so we are going to go to the most reputable site of all time for astrology, and that is Brandon. Google.com. So Brandon's just going to type in Gemini and Aquarius love compatibility. We're going to see if you guys were supposed to work or if this was doomed from the beginning. All right. And we just click on the first arrow because honestly, that is the one that's right and correct. So Brandon, it says Gemini and Aquarius are both free thinkers that need a lot of leeway in love when they come together in a meeting of two bright minds. And that's where the seeds of love begin to grow. Nothing is too taboo for Aquarius, and Gemini is flexible enough to try anything once. Okay, so you tried it.
I think that's to the T what we were, but it didn't work for us.
Wow. Okay.
It was a meeting of two bright minds. We do need a lot of leeway in how we think about love. And I'm a Gemini. Not only will I try anything once, I'm going to try something one time after that one time. You know what I mean? I'm trying new things, which is why we dated in quarantine. So it sounds like we could have made it work, and we could have. It's just him being him. He fucked it up.
Our last segment, and then we're going to get you out of here, is... Yes, honey. Yes. This one I thought you would really respect and know where I'm coming from. This is the part of the show where you give me 3 compliments so that I don't feel so shitty about my life.
Okay, I love this. These are so easy. Compliment number 1, you make everyone feel comfortable around you. You don't look at someone and feel awkward and don't say hi. Like if someone's in the room, you're smiling, even with your body language, which I don't know if this is actually a bad thing, but I noticed that sometimes you when you look at someone, you say hi, you hunch your shoulders a little bit, which is people don't feel intimidated by you, but they also don't feel oh, she's the type of person that I can treat like a doormat. You make everyone feel like they can just be themselves. That's one compliment. Okay.
Love it. Love it.
But, okay. Second compliment, Morgan, is your hair. I'm a big hair person, and I really would not compliment you if it wasn't true about your hair.
Yeah, that's huge. A hair compliment from Ann Filbin, I'll tell you what, is major.
Thank you. And I would honestly say right now, I would use one of my 3 compliments and tell you that your hair looks like shit. It doesn't. It looks so good. And the third compliment is, it can't be taken for granted or undermined that you are actively working on yourself in so many ways. You have been. I know you've been on a journey for a little bit, and it started with some more personal stuff. Well, not that relationship stuff isn't personal stuff, but there are people out there that don't work on themselves and just expect the world to cater to them. But you're working on yourself because there's something inside of you that's saying no, I deserve a better life, and I'm gonna give that life to myself, and that's extremely admirable.
Thank you. Well, that's so sweet. I would say the same about you. You're very inspiring as to how much you work on yourself, and I love following your journey. So thank you for indulging me in that. Let's see. Before we let you actually go, where can people find you on social media?
I'm on Instagram at Carly Ann Filbin. I am verified. I do have an official Instagram because I did fuck a guy who then verified me on Instagram, which I'm not ashamed about. And that's the only place. I made my Twitter private, and don't even look for me on Twitter. I hate Twitter. So just Instagram.
Okay, great, Carly. It's so good to see you. I love you to pieces. Thank you for doing the show. This was such a great episode. Totally different than anything we've had. I loved it. Well,
thank you for having me on, Morgan. I really appreciate it. And Brandon, I know no one can see you, but thank you for, also running the show. Thank you.
Okay, girl. I love you. I'll talk to you soon. All right. That's another episode of Famously Dumped. Carly Ann Filbin. What a delight. She really makes me laugh very hard. And those compliments mean more than you can know, because Carly Ann does not bullshit. She doesn't. I'm just telling you right now. She's a no bullshit kind of gal. That's it. That's our show. What another wonderful episode. And you guys, thank you so much for joining me. And that's it. Brandon, take us out with a song of your choice.
We don't have the rights to any music.
Famously dumped.